We're live.
So we are going to call the meeting to order at 6:07 p.m. on this Wednesday, the 6th of December. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving and happy holiday season, however, and wherever and with whoever you celebrate with. I guess we can do it actually. To accept this.
Not yet. Not walking in quite yet. You can make a motion to move it. You want to change the order?
I can for that form.
It's lost.
That moment when
Dang.
I handed the chairperson's update.
Yes.
Well, first of all, thank you all for being here. I'm glad we're gonna have a quorum tonight because we've got a lot to discuss. Most of you probably saw my email, but for the public's benefit and just to do it in person, I just wrote a few things down because I do much better when I have something to read from. So I just wanted to use my report tonight to say how proud I am of each and every one of you for your commitment to our mission, our strategic plan, and our service to Athens-Clarke County residents. And I continue to believe that the work we're doing here together is extremely important in bridging the gap between residents and our local government. And that gap often feels too wide and too deep. So I'm really grateful that we're doing this work. And I feel, in spite of being a new commission and undergoing many staff changes, Dr. Epps, we're so glad you're here, and member changes, leadership changes, we've still accomplished a lot together. And I think sometimes that's hard to see when we're in the moment, but we worked on creating a strategic plan. We issued and awarded the Juneteenth RFP. We participated with residents at events like Pride and the Hot Corner Festival this year, and our current efforts will continue in our community education series. So I just wanted to say to all of you as we end this year, how proud I am of the work that we've all done together. And I'm also very grateful for the work we're doing to make Athens more equitable. I have thought about this for a while, and I definitely feel like I've made 15 new friends in all of you, and I hope to continue to curate those friendships and support you both inside this room, but outside in our community as well. But in my adult life, I've also learned that leadership is twofold. It's knowing when to stand up and speak, but it's also knowing when it is time to step aside and yield to the next person. And as many of you know, I've just completed 8 rounds of chemo and 4 weeks of daily radiation. So, and today I was informed that I'm actually totally in the clear at the doctor. And I did want to just say to all of you, thank you for bearing with me through this last 8 months. But I also know how important it is to listen to our bodies and to recoup and rest. And so while I will be stepping aside as the chair and will not be seeking re-election tonight, I will continue to serve as a member of this commission because the work is too important to leave behind. And I'll end with one of my favorite quotes. Do all the good you can in all the ways you can, to all the people you can, and all the places you can, as long as ever you can. And I'm looking forward to continuing to doing all the good with you. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll wait on one more person. Oh, shoot. But she's in. The door was.
The wooden door.
Gotcha.
There's like a spike fence in front of one of the doors.
Yeah,
You can't go that way.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause of the-
Yeah,
They put it.
yeah, I went up to this staircase right here and there was like a spiked wall. And I
Yeah.
was like, that's unexpected.
Same on the side.
They're decorations.
Yeah, they're decorations, but
Oh,
like
oh.
they have it blocked. Yeah, no, it's like this spiky little short fence. That's
Gotcha, yeah. Yeah.
And when I came in, the very downstairs door was
Mm-hmm.
open, but all the doors when you walked in were locked. I'm like, where am I? There's
Yeah,
just
they're
a
having-
hallway here.
Yeah, it's another meeting. Hello. Hello. Yeah.
And for our benefit, the public's benefit, we are now at quorum, which means we can conduct regular business. With that, any public comment on old business? wait till that point. Dr. Epps, anything we all before we dive in to the agenda itself?
The inclusion office, I want to just reiterate the thanks and appreciation for everyone. I know it's been a rocky year, changeover. It was a little rocky start in the beginning of the year, but I feel like you all have caught the rhythm. Things are starting to smooth out. So I look forward to the new year, where you all can have a good momentum behind you. There's a lot of good things coming that's coming out of this body. And I think people are starting to recognize that you are no longer the new BAC on the block. And you're getting that momentum and that footing there. And I thank you all for that appreciation of trusting the process, and understanding that it does take time and patience for all of this, and to sticking this out and riding the wave. And hopefully you can starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel of the work that you're trying to do, and at least make that headway there. So I look forward to the new year, as we conclude this year on a great note. I think the 2024 is going to have be great for you all. Couple of other things, again, MLK Day of Service, applications for sites have closed. At this time, we have 28 project sites. Registration for those, we're in the process of confirming all the details with those sites. So that will be confirmed all within the next week. Registration for volunteers will open around the 27th of this month, and will stay open for about a week or so, week to 2 weeks. So I urge everyone, the public and this body, to get out in the community on January 15th for MLK Day of Service. There's ample amount of opportunities within the Athens-Clarke County area to serve and give back. It really live out MLK's, Martin Luther King's dream, and what he wanted the world to look like. And we can start here in Athens. There will be a kickoff at Cedar Shoals High School at 8:30. I encourage everyone to come out. And that's just a way to bring everybody together before you go out and do your service that day. Other than that, that is it for the inclusion office updates. Yeah,
We'll hear more from you later.
yes, you will.
With
You had mentioned the different events, and it seemed like when we were talking about this before, you had talked about doing it as a group. And so I was just mentioning that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to do it as a body, that is certainly great. But if you want to make a bigger impact and get out the word of HRC, you might want to think about spreading out. Hopefully, that does bring up a point of name tags. We did send that out in the last meeting. We've only had 9 responses to that. In order to get name tags here before that event or the day of, or however, we need to make sure that we have everybody. So if you have not filled out that form, if you could please do so by the end of this week. That way we can get everything ordered for you, and it'll be here in time if you would like to have that for the MLK Day of Service. So at least you could have that. But yeah, other than that, if you have time, I encourage you to come out and see the Parade of Lights tomorrow night, and enjoy it. And I hope you all have a great holiday season, whichever holiday that you do choose to celebrate, traditional, non-traditional, major or not publicized holidays. I do understand everyone celebrates their own holidays during this time, so let's just be mindful and respectful of that for the public, of understanding that there are more than just what we think there are. So, happy holidays to everybody.
And as a reminder for the parade, bundle up.
Yes.
My office let us know it's gonna be 30.
30.
It is. It's gonna be fun.
I do need to backtrack and ask for a motion to approve the November minutes. Those should have come to you via email prior to this meeting, so at this time, we'll just entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Motion from member Cogan, second from Ed at the end. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are approved. With no comment, public comment rather, on old business, we'll just move directly into it. Apologies to the forests that were clearly shot down for the amount of papers we have tonight. But we'll start with this one, which says at the top, community education second session, Athens non-discrimination ordinance. As I promised last time, I kind of took the notes that I listened to everyone saying that night and some of the decisions that we had made and just put them into one singular document for us all to look through together and make sure that nothing's missing. I did have Dr. Epps in the inclusion office put their eyes on this, but that's not to say any of us didn't miss something or I might have messed something up. So just confirming that our date is January 25th, 2024. And we will be having a meeting the evening prior to that based on that schedule at the ACC library meeting rooms instead of in the auditorium with a start time of 5:30. And I just wanted to open this up for feedback. I did not put an end time on it because I think it could be much quicker than if we said 5:30 to 7:30. So I don't know what you all's thoughts are on that, but if you look at the time, how we broke it up here, which we'll walk through, I think by 6:30 we would be done. But I just wanted to kind of open it up and see what you all's thoughts were on that.
I saw an end date on the flyer.
Yeah, so originally I put an end date on there, from what we had originally, you all had originally discussed of 7:30. I think, you know, for the public, if we want to make sure that everyone has access, they at least know what time they should be by, whether or not that is a formal conversation or drop in to pick up materials and at least have maybe a few members to stay back and might be able to relay some information, but at least a time where they should be able to know this is when the materials will be here, or someone at least will be here if they can't get off work, traffic. Like me, I just came in, I thought I would be here by 5:30, it ended up being 5:45, you know, because you never know what will happen that day. And if people are really trying to make an effort at 5:30, people are just getting off of work, to at least give them a time frame of how long they should be there, you know?
Ed?
Yeah, I don't know if half an hour is enough time to address this, but if we do feel, and I'm not saying it's not, I'm just like saying, I don't know. But if it is, I mean, it seems like we could record that session pretty easily and then have it available to replay for people who came later. Cause it's, I mean, if we really think a half hour is sufficient, then, you know, that is kind of a like easy thing for, but that's just a thought. So.
Anybody else? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I leaned back, y'all, and I apologize for that. 60 minutes could be a very perfect amount of time. I'm kind of with you. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but I would hate to kind of squish it. I'd like to give a little bit more room in case the Q&A, people actually have questions, if there needs to be one-on-one. If anybody, like, I would prefer to go to 7 technically, and if that means I would volunteer to hang back for that last 30 minutes as well.
Okay.
If other folks can't commit to that.
And this time frame on here is just a guide. It's not anything set in stone. I just tried to lay out flow and just put times for estimations. So I'm good with the 7 o'clock as well.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it makes sense for the public to have an end time so that they.
Perfect. Okay. I don't think we have to vote on that. We already had talked about it previously. Is that correct, Dr. Epps?
Yes, you all did. I'm just trying to check to see what was put in the water bill, and if it is 7 o'clock, then that's perfectly fine.
Great.
We can have somebody head back until 7:30.
Great. So I just started it out kind of how we had discussed that there would be a general welcome to those that are in attendance at the beginning. And then we will have a person from the attorney's office. I initially put Attorney Hines, who spoke to our committee or subcommittee rather. But just in case it's not, you know, Attorney Hines and it's someone else from their office, we just decided not to list who that would be for our records here. And really, just to the points of, I think Ollie's group came up with what the non-discrimination ordinance is and why it exists, who it protects, the filing process, what the avenues for recourse are on the back end. And then one thing that I thought was really good that we had in our subcommittee was, you know, learning what type of instances work well with the ordinance, just so people have like an anecdotal example. Because that helped me understand it better, what works well, what doesn't work well, those types of things. So I would just open up the floor for this section to make sure that there are no, points that we would want the attorney's office to, touch on that I did not list here based on our notes from last time.
No, I think that's a good addition.
Anybody got anything missing that they don't see? That's good news, all right.
Do we want to include any sort of contra positives or like who it doesn't protect or like examples of things that are not necessarily like,
I think that would be good. Yeah, we can make that addition on it. And this is just, I guess we'll send this over to the attorney's office for them to have, so they'll probably do that in true attorney fashion, I would assume as well, but I'll put it on the document.
Okay.
That's great. So from there, I know we had talked about the importance of a Q&A session. So my thought was after the presentation is walked through and, we'll have a better idea of how long that's going to take once they let us know, all they're going to cover. But a Q&A, with attendees and the person who gives that, presentation would follow. I believe that's how we discussed that. Any feedback or changes to that?
I will say that, the attorney's office will have to leave by about 6:30, so that gives about an hour. I did check, it is till 7 o'clock, so
Okay, good.
that was what was put in there. So I think about an hour or so, so I would just say if there is a Q&A, to just know probably about 6:30, that would probably be when it needs to be wrapping up.
Okay.
There.
And then I thought, we had kind of discussed, a lot of people don't know who serves on this commission and who we are and what we do. So in an effort to introduce ourselves to the communities that night after the Q&A, I just thought it would be good for the chairperson, or another designated member to introduce or let us introduce ourselves, to the committee, tell them a quick little bit about who we are, and explain what our role is in supporting both the community and uplifting the ordinance and access to it. So when you look at the founding legislation that established who we are that I read over a few meetings ago, it really outlines exactly what the HRC is and what we do. So I think reviewing that, independent of what the attorney's office is going to be presenting, would probably be a added bonus for that section. Any thoughts on HRC introductions? I know most of this is reviewing what we talked about last time. And then the things that I wanted to also add here. Okay, we had talked about refreshments being served and also HRC members on site to engage with attendees afterwards, collect survey results, answer any questions one-on-one that maybe didn't get asked in the Q&A portion or that people didn't feel comfortable asking in a group setting one-on-one. I think those name tags will come in handy if they're here for that reason. And then the last piece I added was something I said I would like to see was the take-home materials or take back to their headquarters or waiting rooms at different nonprofit offices across the city for them to disseminate to their populations that they serve to help us, reach people that won't be attending this or have trusted partners that aren't us yet to help connect them to the ordinance. And I think, we have that how to file a complaint flyer.
We do.
Those were really self-explanatory, very easy to understand, had some QR codes on them. I think if we did something like that again and just, did batches of 20 maybe for people to take with them, I think that could be beneficial. So I'm open to ideas on what that might look like. So I'll open the floor for that too.
Yeah.
Oh, we made more.
Welcome.
Okay.
So the only thing that we had really to finalize in it, there's no comment on any of the rest of it. Oh,
Sorry, so I'm just curious, this is the last meeting before we meet right before the town hall. So in between now and then, I guess, who should and will be deciding what refreshments and collecting them?
Meeting the night before, right?
We can probably need a little more time.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. We could probably go to Costco or something the next morning. So just curious about that and if that's something that the event subcommittee can help out with.
Good question.
Absolutely. And for the survey, what survey are we putting in front of the folks that are showing up at the town hall? Is it one that maybe we've used already, or are we creating different survey questions?
So that came from, I believe, was it your committee that wanted to do that? Did y'all have any feedback on that?
I think what I said was, having a way to collect questions from people after like they, you know, thought about what was presented, if there was a way to do that. I don't know what you want to capture with the survey.
I think what might be beneficial with our timeline is collecting contact information, perhaps from people that attend and following up with not a satisfaction, but something similar to that. But that's just an idea, and I'll see if anybody else has a better one.
Contact information, any further questions? Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about a million other times, people are overwhelmed or just over surveys, so
Yes.
just anything that's simple, put in front of them, and getting feedback sounds great.
And Dr. Epps, on the refreshments point, do you have any recommendation from your office on how to go about deciding what to get, or do we need to make an initial decision in that regard?
So, so as far as that, the money would be coming out of the inclusion office, we would purchase that. And we would just charge it to just create a line item for you all, so you all can know how much you've spent, just how we did Juneteenth. We would just need to know what exactly that looks like, or we can just do our own best judgment and do something very neutral. For it as like refreshments, I do know I need to check with the library as far as if there is a minimal fee for refreshments being served at the library, because I do think there is a charge that will still also come out of that budget too, so that way you actually at least know how much it will take for any future community sessions. So we can handle all of that, so we can do that.
I was just curious if anybody had suggestions just off the bat for what refreshments to serve, and not to take too long on it, but anybody?
I love to talk about food.
I know.
Speaking of foods.
Okay.
They say cocoa, I mean, yeah, cocoa this time of year, absolutely. Cocoa and cider. Finger foods, okay.
I would do maybe the small water pods instead of full water bottles. But just,
Good idea.
Just curious, thanks. Yeah.
So just so we don't have to make an official decision as a body on this moving forward, let's just make them, just for safety reasons and all that, let's just make a motion to yield to the inclusion office and our subcommittee to handle the finalization of that. So I'll entertain that.
I'll make a motion to defer those decisions to the events subcommittee and to the inclusion office for refreshments. Second.
All in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. And great job to the inclusion office on the flyer. If there's anything else that you see that needs to be added, please email Dr. Epps or myself, and we'll make sure to get that added in. Some of the finalizations at the bottom that we had talked about were Spanish and ASL interpreters on standby in the event that our attendees are in need of those. And it looks like there is an update from you on.
Yes, we are still working on that. Yes, we are still working on that. There are some leads there. But this is something that is in the forefront of the entire organization of being able to have this. We do have interpreters for our mayor commission meeting that you do just have to schedule out. So we do have a plan of action for that. So I'm still following up with all of those. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can have have something there, so I will do my very best. If not, I will update everyone.
Is this the flyer that went in the water bill?
No, that's not the flyer. The water bill is just a small excerpt, and I can kind of read you what it looks like. And it just simply is stating that there is a, community education session. Let me pull it up. I'm sorry, y'all. I just had it. It says, community education, it goes inclusion office and human relations commission, a resident policy making board created and appointed by the mayor and commission will co-host a community education session on January 25th from 5:30 to 7 at the ACC library on Baxter Street. The event is designed to educate residents about the HRC, the local non-discrimination ordinance, the process of filing discrimination complaints, and the consequences that may result from filing complaints. That is what it says. So, people should be getting informed about that. Contact information's up there, so if they have any questions, so.
And the number of mailboxes you said that goes to was
Ooh.
it's a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
Good. Good.
It's a lot. But I think it's very good for you all. Just know that it's there. Did have some inquiries about, Facebook events. The Inclusion Office does not have a Facebook account. ACC Gov manages the main page. They don't do Facebook events. However, that's not to say someone might create a Facebook event and manage that, but that's not gonna be ACC Gov that's doing it. However, we will promote the flyer via our Instagram page. And you all the collective body will need to help push that information out. So hopefully people will read their water bills and see the quarterly that's in there. So, yeah.
Probably a good note for us to know that we don't use Facebook events because we should be.
Is there a way to print these and kind of put them up around town? Was there a plan to put paper flyers in any of the locations?
There was not a plan for that. That is gonna be a little extensive, budget there, cost for all of that. But that wasn't the plan unless is that something that you want? But I would say with closer to the holidays and being able to get that back, that would be something that would need to happen ASAP, but.
I would be happy to print.
I was gonna say, if we could just print even 50 copies and hit the libraries and the YMCA and places like that, I'd be happy to also volunteer time to do that.
Also, we can send the file out to members as well, for you to share among your circles. And I think that'll give you the outreach portion for the nonprofit listserv as well to use in that email, along with some plain text.
Yes.
Yeah, if there's no other edits to that, to this flyer that you see, corrections, all of that, I can send out a finalized copy to everyone tomorrow with it, but just ensure there's no grammatical errors as I can oversight those.
Sorry, I've got a lot today. We had maybe mentioned at the last meeting that it would be helpful on the flyer or when we put out the information to have the timeline of when speakers were going to be, doing.
And that is exactly why it's coming back to me, like Celine Dion would say. That's exactly why I tried to lay out a general timeline,
Yeah.
because I remember us discussing that.
So is there a way to just put like a, 5:30 start time and that we will have somebody speaking? And then like a quick Q&A to follow?
Yes, there is a way. I would still caution that anytime that you're doing special events to stay away from publicizing a timeline because things happen, and what you don't want to occur is someone really being strict about the timeline and they get there and it's not happening. But I can put on there, I did at one point, have the attorney's office representatives there, and I can put that back on there and just saying that these speakers will be present until 6:30. I could just put, if that feases you all, I could definitely do that.
What do y'all think? Or it could stay the way it is. It also looks pretty amazing.
I think if we have like a PDF of this, when we send it out, we can just talk generally in like an email body or the social media body, copy and just say, these are some of the topics that are gonna be discussed, and this is kind of a loose schedule of the event, and that may kind of appease both.
I think that's the best way to approach it.
Yeah. Awesome.
And we can use this as kind of a
Yeah, feel
guide?
free. I'll send it out.
Okay.
Yeah, as well. And reminders that, once we send this out, please disseminate it on your own platforms, social medias. And I did just want to ask a clarifying question. Is there any, because this is coming from the government, is there any rule against one of these individuals or myself creating a Facebook event?
No, so, there is not a policy about that. However, use of ACC Gov emails, anything like that, if you are gonna send that on your personal platforms, I would just be very cautious of that. Anything that comes from ACC Gov, is subject to open records and it does have to follow our policies. The thing with that is, anything that comes, you know, how social media is, narratives that come about and comments and things like that, just be mindful of that. And that it is not something that is run by ACC Gov. We will not be, doing that. So if you on your personal side just want to create a Facebook event to help that out, I would just be wary, just say that this is not run by ACC Gov.
Any other thoughts? Okay. Well, I'm excited about the event and we'll be meeting again and obviously keep a watch on your emails just in case we have some communications related to it. Really excited though. Great work, everybody. With that, I think we're going to move into the next agenda item, which will be our review of the Juneteenth RFP scope. And I believe I'll turn it over to that to Dr. Ennis.
Yes, so thank you for the friendly reminder at the last meeting that you all wanted this RFP out and ready to go. And I am happy to say that this thing is ready to go pending your approval. And we can get it out as early as by the end of this month, it can be out. And it might even be a surprise for the holidays, you never know. But I will say for the public that this RFP will be out well before it was last year. There will be ample amount of time.
This is our largest complaint.
Yes.
Here.
Yes, so we wanted to correct our wrongs for last year. We want to take a new approach to this, enable everyone to have a better opportunity at applying for these and understanding all of the requirements for Juneteenth, what specifically we're looking for with the Juneteenth event. If you look at your copy that you have, I have a tentative timetable schedule at the beginning of what this looks like. This is just a forecast of what my brain was thinking when I was creating this to give people ample amount of opportunity to close it on February 9th. That gives you all of January, the rest of December, if it is out early December, that gives people time to think about what they want to do. And closing it in February and understanding the contract process and how long that takes, that hopefully by the end of February, we can have a mayor and commission vote. We'll at least get it on the agenda setting. So the vote will be the first week in March. So that way, once the process comes, at least someone will have a contract. Hopefully, if it can go quick enough, fingers crossed, that they will have ample amount of time. But this at least will give people ample amount of time to go ahead and plan what they want instead of being pressed for time on that. Again, if we launch it out, I'm thinking close date will be February. I extended it out to February, just understanding that you all have this community education session in January. So at least I wanted you to be able to have that time to introduce yourself to the community. You never know, some people might show up that might be interested in this opportunity. You can use that to leverage that. So I'm amenable to closing it earlier, but at least I wanted to give you that tentative timetable there. Now, with that, if you agree on that, then we can kind of go over that. As far as the scope of services, we kept it the same, but I do want to call your attention to the date of Juneteenth. Juneteenth is in the middle of the week next in 2024. So you can either have the event before the actual Juneteenth or after. So in this option, this is before the weekend before Juneteenth. So that is up to you because it falls on a Wednesday, I believe. You can choose which date, but I think it would be better to have it the weekend before.
I agree.
I agree.
So it would be June 15th. As far as the scope goes, I have kept it the same. However, I did mention what happened last year. Understanding what exactly was part of the RFP that was sent out last year was that the person who was awarded the contract was to submit a summary of the event. How many people were there? What were the successes of it? What were the pitfalls of it? How can we improve? And so this is the language from what was the success of last year. As you can see, it talks about how much food that they had out there, how many persons, what was the age range, to understand that this is a community, family, fun, secure, safe event. So I put that information in here just so people have a little background on that, background on what type of event we're looking for, because I think last year's RFP was really vague, and it's new. No one really knew what type of picture you're looking for. And if that is something that you all want to change of what the vision is, then we can open that discussion there. But I think we want to just stick around, it being fun for people of all ages, but it also has that educational piece to it. So I did include that in there, that we're looking for something, an event that has activities for kids, some vendors possibly, music, but still keeps that importance of the holiday. As well as involving other community members to provide information as well. The rest of the package just goes through what exactly the expectations are. So I do want to call your attention to the specific task and scope, which is on the back page of the first page. It says the event ought to be fun, accessible, and complimentary to the general public. It must be free. That is what we're requiring, that the event be free. It involves partnerships with the organizations that are dedicated to cultural awareness and possess expertise in history and culture related to the emancipation of formerly enslaved. It will be highly recommended that multiple community partners host information tables and presenters share valuable history and insights. The organization will be responsible for the organization of the event, not limited to identifying, securing entertainment and vendors. Entertainment should be of all ages. There will be no fireworks. There cannot be any fireworks. We will not approve that at all. So anybody in the public that is looking to do or respond to this RFP, there cannot be any fireworks in your budget. Whether that is store-bought, visitors bringing, participants bringing fireworks, there should not be any fireworks on the premises. I do also want to point out that all vendors must comply with Athens-Clarke County ordinances and regulations. So there's Board of Health. If you are a food truck, there are regulations that you must have that. There does have to be that insurance for each of the vendors that are there, so they will need to supply you with a copy of their insurance. That just protects the liability of you as well as ACC Gov. And then they're also responsible for the payments to vendors. So the money that is going in, we are not going to be submitting any POs for any vendors. Part of this event, we'll submit it to the organization and they are responsible for paying them, as well as the marketing. We boosted out some marketing on it, but a lot of that marketing is going to be on the organizations. But the last part I want to point out is that to understand that if there is any response to the RFP that is not on government property, then they will not be able to use our equipment. So the stage, tents, chairs, they will not be able to use it on non-government property. So it has to be on government property to be able to rent the stage, tents and chairs. So that's the biggest part. And then the insurance requirements are still the same.
And those are set by the county.
The insurance count, yes. The insurance is set forth by the county. We've gone through, I've checked, verified with safety and risk.
Judge Ernest,
Yes.
just in that like last part, it says if your event is approved to take place on ACC Gov property, then you will need to budget for rental of equipment. So
Correct.
do they have to rent it from ACC Gov?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Cool.
so if approved, if you are, if the event is approved to be on government property and you want to do the, to get the stage, the
So
tent
they
and
don't
all
get
of that.
that free.
Yeah, that is not
Okay.
free. You'll have to add that into the budget, which they are required to submit in this RFP, proposal. They are required to submit a budget of everything that they think they will need. So to include that stage, tent, chairs and all of that, public safety officers, if you're gonna have them there.
Are there ever circumstances under which that equipment is provided to somebody on like a reduced or complimentary basis?
No, that was something that you have to go through leisure services on
Gotcha.
to ask more about
Okay.
that, but usually there is a rental fee
Yeah.
with that. And as far as any other situation where that might be waived, that was through leisure services. So that would be the contact person for all of that information, leisure services and PD for.
And in my experience working with Pride Festival downtown, there was always some fee
Yeah.
associated with those.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I mean, I could see where a fee might not be a problem. I could see how a fee
Yeah.
could be a barrier.
Yeah, but leisure services are always available to have discussions about what that looks like and all of that.
Do we tell them, what the budget is, like, for their max amount that they're awarded?
Yes, so, it is $15,000. That was what we awarded last year for $15,000. Understanding that, Juneteenth, you all still have your own, budgets. I think last year you used about 4,000 for various supplies and things like that, that went to Juneteenth. So you did keep that 15,000, so we didn't change that.
And is that noted in the RFP?
Yes, it's just not on this scope.
Oh, this is
It's
just
not,
the.
yeah, this is just the scope. Yeah, this is just the scope.
I'm worried over here.
Yeah, no, this is just one section of it that's really the main portion that, you all need to just approve. It's just the scope. The very first page is what I want you all to pay attention. I'm just going through the other portions so that way the public is informed and that you all will know exactly what, if anybody had any questions. As far as the insurance is still the same. There is 2 million aggregate that you need for general liability insurance, 1 million per occurrence. Additional assured endorsement and primary non-contributor endorsement in favor of Athens-Clarke County on both in a notice of cancellation endorsement. So, auto insurance is another thing. You still have to have the certificate that says additional, insured and non-contributory primary of Athens-Clarke County and a notice of cancellation. Workers' compensation, if you are required to do that. If you meet the requirements for per Georgia law, you need that. If you don't, you will not need it, but that still follows that. And then professional liability, you will need those. You do not need to purchase a special event insurance plan. You do not need to do that. However, these are the main things that we are looking for. In order for any contract to be executed, I have to have all of these certificates with everything. If you don't have the additional insured, that's gonna hold it up and we have to keep sending it back until we get it. That is the biggest hurdle there of understanding what that is. And so one of the things that I know you all have talked about is having a way to educate the community on what this is. And understanding that in January, you all are having a face-to-face meeting that is not about responding to RFPs, but I do want to point out that there will be the technical assistance period, which Cameron can speak more about. But that is a way that can provide that education depending on what you all are looking for. And Cameron, if you want to kind of briefly touch on that.
Yeah, so the technical assistance period is about a 3 to 4 week period where we will present the RFP to a group of people. It's a webinar where they can come in and sit and listen to a presentation, breakdown of the RFP, what the insurance requirements are, so on and so forth. It would allow organizations or a person who's interested in applying for the RFP to ask questions and direct communication to answer those questions. If they have questions, this can be recorded and posted on our website. If they have questions after that, they can reach back out to us and we can work one-on-one with them through this process.
And
Did
this,
that happen last year?
No, so that
So
did not.
that's, okay.
That did not happen last year, but this is a process that is involved in our ARPA contracts, and I think any other contracts that we have, RFP process, there is a technical assistant period where people can attend. Now, I will say that might not be something that a lot of people take advantage of, but that is a primary opportunity. And if you see on the window, I have it out open for a very long time, and that is where anyone can ask questions. They can watch the video, any specific things they need, but it does cut off at a certain point where we won't accept any more applications or any more questions. So it's about a week or two before the deadline ends. So if that is something that you all want to move forward with, we can go ahead and make that happen. We already do have a webinar PowerPoint ready to go on that can put that out. So that will be available. We'll just work on getting those dates up. But this is what we have going forward. I think this is a well comprehensive RFP that is ready to go based on what your approval and comments are on that. So, yeah.
Thank you. I think just a quick note that what you're talking about, Cameron, is exactly what we were looking for there to be the ability to. And as far as people taking advantage of it, I think it's incumbent on us to do outreach to our organizations that we know of, to utilize the listserv, which I'm sure you already use when the RFP is
Yes.
put out. So with that, we'll open up the floor for any discussion on this item, or if everyone's good with it, we'll entertain a motion to open the floor for discussion. Or question.
On the last, okay, yeah. What's the I on the last page? What's the?
Oh, that goes to the additional assured, the following person or entities are to be listed as contractors, general liability policy. Mr.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it just didn't make it on, it
Thank
didn't make it on that page.
I didn't know it's a one, it's not an I.
Yeah.
Yeah, it follows that one.
I saw a couple of dates that I thought needed to be like updated, on the first page. Just in the first paragraph, it should be 2024 instead of
Yes.
2023, and then
Good catch.
on the third page at the bottom, the event to be held on June 15th, 2024. So. But I thought it, I loved the stuff that you put in. I loved the technical. So,
Anybody else? I think we should, first of all, vote on the date of the 15th, which would be the weekend leading up to, I saw a lot of heads nod when we said that, you know, kind of celebrating, as we lead up to it. So with that, Saturday, June 15th, 2024 would be the date we would need to approve. So I'll entertain a motion for that. If there's no discussion.
Just making sure the other big events that happen in June as well, like Athens and things of that nature. I don't know if they have already picked a date. Sorry, that might be like one big weekend thing to consider. I think it's usually at the end of June,
I think, yeah, Fest is usually at the end and
The
Pride
end.
is usually the first or second.
first or
weekend.
second. But yeah, I think the 15th should be the only thing that popped in my head.
Did y'all consult the community calendar or anything on that date?
I did not, thinking that we would have the space in there knowing last year. But what we can do is if you do a backup date for that, and if there is a conflict, we will be able to move, because I don't see it up there yet.
So that option would be to say this, the Saturday before or the Saturday after,
Yes.
whichever is conducive to the community calendar.
Thank you.
Good, all out there. Okay, so we'll do a motion for both 2 dates and whichever works with the preference, obviously being the.
I make a motion that we move forward with planning a Juneteenth event. Well, move forward with allowing a Juneteenth event to be planned on Saturday, June 15th, 2024 as the preference, and Saturday, June 22nd as the backup date, pending the community calendar.
A second motion.
That was a well.
Very good.
All in favor of the motion on the floor would say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then the second thing we would just need to do is approve the scope of services. And of course, obviously, there's discussion around that too, but I would just comment that I think the context that's been added about what was done last year is gonna be a huge benefit.
I
And
agree.
technical assistance period is a
Yeah,
added bonus, which I think this body was really looking for, in moving forward, giving people the opportunity to ask questions and learn. So, with that, anybody else have comments in this stuff? All right, so we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Second.
scope of services.
All right, all in favor, let's say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I don't think the rest of the agenda takes us long, so I know we're almost at time, but it is our last meeting of the year, and go ahead, and we started a little
I
late.
did have a question, the close of the RFP. Are you all okay with the close of it being February 9th? Understanding that once it closes on February 9th at 4 o'clock, we'll have to move pretty quickly with it with a special call, HRC meeting on Valentine's Day.
Does everyone love that idea? No pun intended.
On February 9th to keep it open until February 9th or?
Couldn't resist. I think keeping it,
Okay,
it seems like everybody's nodding.
okay,
Yep.
okay. So I just wanted to make sure. Okay. Great.
All right, any public comment on new business? Ms. Heather, welcome to the HRC. You're one of our first public commenters too, so good to have you. At all, yeah.
Hi, my name is Heather Poole. I own Cecilia's Fake Shop in town, and I came before you today to talk about something that happened in the shop. I'm gonna leave my statements for you guys in case anybody just wants to read it further. But, a uniformed officer came into my business and started talking to me about, religion and preaching to me.
Excuse me.
As as he was talking to me, and that day in the shop, he said, "What's one thing you can't live without?" He said, "It's air." And he said, "Would you believe how many people I've seen die because they don't have oxygen?" I started to sweat because I instantly thought like, I can't breathe, he's talking about religion and I have PTSD and anxiety. So I was trying to emphasize with him and I was like, oh, I bet you have had a lot of things happen. I told the officer that I could not debate a religious conversation because of my past. My parents raised me in a religious cult and I have a lot of trauma and panic attacks when someone tries to debate or proselytize me. After about 5 minutes, he still wouldn't stop talking. I actually verbalized, told him I was having a panic attack. He went on about the reason the world is so evil and have so much destruction on the world. It's because like Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible, when God struck down evil because of all those homosexuals out there that are doing this and that. Then he said, "Oh, I know about your case with you and your wife. She stole a bunch of money from me in my business, so I made a report." I felt trapped, scared, concerned for my safety. I was at this point crying, panicking, telling him I'm having a panic attack. I filed a complaint, with the office. I was interviewed for about 20 minutes. It causes me anxiety.
Take your time.
The officer was interviewed for about 48 minutes. I have now listened to his report. I did not at first. It took me about a half a year to listen. I had not heard from them in a couple months, so I reached out to the officer that I originally talked to. He told me that Captain S told him that he called officer, I wrote it down for myself, Detective Lynn Thomas. Captain S told Detective Lynn that he had talked to me on the phone and I didn't want to talk about the case. And I had let Officer Detective Thomas know that he had never called me. I had never heard from anybody and that I did not know my case was closed. That was about 2 months, a little bit more than 2 months after my initial complaint. And then, so I had reached out to a news media who then contacted the Athens-Clarke County Police Department. I immediately that day got a call from Captain Epps saying that he would look into my case, and I already knew that he knew about my case, and he had said that he talked to me and I closed, or, you know, he closed it. So I had asked him multiple times, like, oh, so you hadn't heard about my case, or you hadn't heard about my case, and so, you know, Detective Thompson hadn't told you about my case, and he said no every time. Basically, his comment was, well, although I don't condone Officer Lynn's acts, I told him he wasn't allowed to go back in the case shop. That's his resolution.
Heather, if I could I just get unanimous consent for an extension of public comment time?
Yes.
Okay. He said his wife come into the shop all the time to get cakes, and, you know, everybody loves Cecilia's, and, he asked me, he asked me what should happen to the officer. And I said, well, I don't know the officer. I don't know what his background is. I don't know if this is the only complaint he has. I don't think I can tell you what should happen to the officer. I'm surprised that you don't know what has happened with a senior officer in your department. And he said that he's not aware of it and he doesn't really know his officers that well. So after basically just getting shut down, told like, oh, well, you know, we're sorry he did that and we're not going to have that happen. You know, he's not going to come into your shop again. I really didn't feel like that was the resolution to this problem. That officers can use your personal case against, you know, like you filed, you know, something, filed a complaint. It's very painful for me. I had to divorce my wife. It's incredibly painful to have that. And then this guy comes in and uses that with a religious undertone, incredibly egregious to me. The effect of that is the wording specifically this and that. That's used a lot all over the place. It's even in advertisements. It causes me anxiety now to, you know, like, oh, is it going to be this or that? And it's this instant memory. Anyway, I reached out to the county's attorney because I didn't know where else to go. And she had let me know that it was too late to file a complaint. And so that was all I had heard from her. She said she would reach out to the manager's office and let them know, and somewhere else, but I honestly at that point just couldn't remember anything else that she said. I wish I had the opportunity to go and complain or, you know, talk to someone about that. I didn't know my case was closed. I didn't know anything. I'm just really working so hard every single day. I don't have a day off to run my business. I don't have time to deal with this stuff or to make sure this thing goes through or that goes through. So. Yeah.
Thank you all for the extension. One thing that I think, is everyone okay for a few minutes to get through the last two?
Yeah.
The first thing that I will say is, you know, we know that these things happen in our community, and I think that's exactly why we were established in the first place, to offer support. And to Heather, I just want to publicly say that I'm sorry that this body didn't know about this earlier than we did. And now that we know, I hope that we can do something about it. And I'm glad that we're now on a cadence with the attorney's office to get more regular updates when these are filed, so that we can offer support to individuals who still have their lives to live while dealing with trauma and such. One thing that in our new business, moving into it now, that the policy committee has been looking at, as a result of the summary of the complaints we got, you know, a lot of them, some of them were dismissed by the attorney's office because victims decided not to proceed. But there was one instance where it was due to the fact that our very new ordinance rather has a 90-day filing window. So the policy committee has been working hard on this issue, both in our subcommittee breakouts and in our research. So I will turn it over to, excuse me, Mayum, to kind of brief you all on where we've landed, how we've landed there. And I think the story we heard tonight probably will speak to why we're making this recommendation as a whole. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you, Heather, very much. It's very, takes a lot of courage. So our recommendation is to, change the filing timeline. It's currently in the NDO, it's currently 90 days from the date of the incident until 90 days forward. Our recommendation is to, extend that to 1 year. We did do an extensive spreadsheet with, looking at other NDOs in different communities, and, they're kind of all across the board. But we feel that because it is, you know, it can be very, very traumatic. It does take time. You know, there's technically no legal proceedings following, in our NDOs. So, it's, you know, we feel like people need more time to be able to express and share and, you know. So we're making a motion to, extend, the 90-day filing time period to 1 year.
Is there some discussion on this?
I was just gonna add a few things.
Oh,
Is that okay to do?
Yeah.
There are several cities, that do it at 1 year. Some federal agencies also have 1 year as their filing deadline. There are several reasons that I felt strongly about 1 year versus 6 months or whatever. The first is that, to our public speaker's point, there is trauma that often causes delayed informing of an incident. Sometimes it can take people years, after being assaulted or discriminated against to come forward, with that complaint. That's the first thing that I wanted to add. And also, I think Athens has always been a forward-thinking, future-minded, trend-setting, policy-leading city. I mean, that is who we are as a people. So even if there were no other cities doing this, but there are, I think that there is something to be said about us being a leader in the state. The last thing that I would add is that, sorry, my train of thought just left me. Sorry, I have to come back to it. I apologize.
I thank you all for the research and everything that was done on this. I know there has been some discussion, with me present there. I welcome making this recommendation, to the mayor and commission if that is something that you approve. However, I'm a little lost in the weeds of, the last meeting that I was at. There was supposed to be some dialogue there, to come back to, and I don't believe that I need a little bit of background information of how this recommendation came to be, if there was a meeting that was had outside of your liaison being there, or where this recommendation came from, what that discussion was, there. Because the last time I heard, there was still supposed to be that research. I haven't seen any research come across my desk or anything like that. And you all are welcome to do that research. However, the process that has to go in front of mayor commission, I have to have something that I have to be able to write up, you know, of where this recommendation is coming from, what research has been done, you know. If there was email communication that was going on, I was not on those email communications. So, you know, the 1 year is kind of like, whoa, last time I heard was 180 days, and now we're talking about 365 days. So there's a little bit of gap in information, and by no means am I saying this is not something that you want to go forward with. I'm just trying to figure out how this decision came to be where that information was coming from. That way I can be able to formulate it in the agenda report that has to go to mayor commission to understand why of the big jump. I need to see the spreadsheet and all of that. And again, if there was a meeting that happened or a vote that was
There
happening,
wasn't a meeting.
there was not a meeting.
There
Okay,
was email communication, subject to open records and ACC Gov emails,
okay,
as was the spreadsheet in ACC Gov emails.
okay,
And all that is subject to open records, I would assume.
okay.
And I did not know about CCing you, so I apologize if that was my oversight in doing that. Also, it's our first recommendation, so we don't necessarily know how the process is supposed to work on that front. But we all individually did portions of research on different cities. We looked at every city in the United States that has a non-discrimination ordinance to see what their filing periods were. Is 365 days an outlier? Are there other cities doing it? There are. And then in the essence of time, because our discussions in our in-person meeting was that we wanted to make a recommendation by this meeting. And I don't recall us ever saying 180 days was what we wanted to go with. I've always been on board with 365 days. But that's how we did it. And if you know, if there was a process issue, I personally apologize, but it was not in any way to be secret. It was just
No, and I.
getting excited, moving,
Right.
trying to get it done.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate all the hard effort and everything that you all put towards it. I just want to make sure that to ensure the public that there is that transparency,
Absolutely.
that there was a discussion that was had, you know? So, and this is just a reminder to everyone here that if there is discussion, to just make sure that I am on there as your staff liaison. That way I can help you all, support you in any way that I can and understand exactly where that information
And I
is.
think
So,
we just kind of were like, you know, when we had asked y'all to help us with the research and they were just like, no, y'all just do that. I
Yeah.
think that we just like
yeah.
did it and
Yeah.
then jumped in way too far.
Yeah,
you know?
but you know, going forward, I think that all the research that you do is great. If you could put it all into a document and send me all of the conversation, because I do have to put it into the report as to how we got here. I gotta give a historical overview of exactly how we got here. And you know, again, 365, I might have not just been paying attention in there, and this first time I'm hearing of a year, but that is no way, shape, or form that I'm pushing back on that. I certainly agree. If you all could send me that communication of exactly all the conversations that you all have had about this, that way I can write it up and everything. And if there is more discussion about that, we can go from there. But I will be happy to entertain that recommendation and move forward with
Would it
that.
be beneficial for you if this body approves, or, you know, after a little discussion on it, if we were to approve going ahead with that, would it be beneficial for our committee to get with you and have a meeting to, you know, put a formal document together or something like that?
Yes, that would be helpful. And I can start working on that at the beginning of the year. I will try to move as quickly as I can with that information. It will not be on the January docket. I think they're having an agenda setting meeting for January. But if not, hopefully by March, it should be on there. So we will need to get together and sit down and discuss what that looks like, if that is what y'all want to move forward with.
And as we were just talking, that point that left me, came back to me. Another thing that we had kind of discussed is that because the ordinance is so new and because the education in the community hasn't happened, we felt that until that has occurred in a real way, we could not logically or ethically expect anyone to come forward and be able to file a complaint within the right amount of time. Because if you don't know something exists and you don't know the process by which to apply or to, you know, we just heard someone speak to not knowing about that. You know, it certainly, you know, cuts down on the amount of complaints probably because people don't know that it exists. So it just gives us, it opens up the window into more time for that education to happen. And, you know, it's not to say that this body in the future could not come back and, you know, change things again. That's what we're here for. But anyway, I'll open the floor for everybody else.
I agree. I mean, that's something that I've always thought, why not have more time? I don't think it's any burden necessarily to us to give time for the victims of anything to come forward. So I appreciate and respect pushing it forward right here.
Anybody else?
Yeah, people should be able to just run out the clock in 90 days, like, come in and act in a discriminatory way against somebody and then like, like they kept Heather is, they kept her in limbo way past the 90-day point. So at that point, she goes to the attorney and they tell her that she has no other recourse. Like, I almost feel like the timetable should start at the end of any other, like if somebody has like some other process like that, if like they're taking it like to the police internally, at that point that process ends, maybe they have a year, but I'm good with the year from the date that.
Thank you. I remember that actually coming up in our discussion too. There is this trust among community members that, and we're waiting on some feedback on what departments have internal complaint processes. And what we have found is if people trust that the process they start with is going to work, and then that process itself takes 90 days.
Yeah.
And then they find out that it did not work, or that there was no follow-up, then we have not done what we were supposed to do in the government, nor as a body willing to make those recommendations.
And like if I had my choice, I would much rather seek legal recourse against, a person who inflicted that kind of trauma on me versus, whatever we may be able to manifest. I'm not sure, but I really, honestly feels like a case of malpractice where this person should not be in a role where they're allowed to do that and to use people's like legal things in, weaponized fashion. I feel like to some extent, the fact that like she's left with us as like her sort of way to seek satisfaction is just so troubling to me. But yeah.
And the problem is even with timelines, we're on one now to address that, but good news is we're not the only BAC that this issue is gonna be going to or affecting that I could guess. We have a civilian safety oversight board, is that right?
Yes.
Police, civilian.
Public safety oversight.
Public safety, civilian oversight that does look into exactly what you're talking about. I have been informed as well that there are some internal things going on now as well as a result of and rightfully so.
Yeah, I mean, good, and we should follow up and make sure that things are handled to your satisfaction, so, yeah.
I would encourage this committee to expedite the process and get with Dr. Epps and fast forward, retroactive, all the meetings you had, put in a documentation and seek her advisement on it. If this city has had the policy established for 90 days, I don't know how many years, that may be a mountain to overcome, but you might want to give yourself a win-win situation by saying maybe 6 months to a year, so that it will not be a failed opportunity. At least 6 months would be better than waiting 90 days if the general body is not willing to see that a year might be proactive and helpful for all people who may have been discriminated against, just like the living person testimony we had tonight with Heather. And so Heather's sharing of her account validate what we are supposed to be about. And as an ordained clergy and pastor, Heather, I am incensed of the weaponry of this officer allegedly using his religious ideology to show discrimination to you. I'm incensed with that. That is terrible. And so I hope that you can receive some satisfaction of the horrible act that you have encountered, you and your former spouse. And so hearing that tonight lets this committee know that you're on the right track. And 365 days may give you a better window of people being able to come through all that they need to and be heard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Just a question, maybe a long shot here. Do we think that the policy committee could come together between now and January 24th, I believe is our next meeting, to be able to put on the table for the next agenda item for January to move that recommendation forward to the mayor commission? Because we can't recommend it tonight based on historical. Do we think that's possible to have that vote in February or January?
You all can move it forward. I just need to ensure that there was, no votes taking place via.
And I'll clarify again, there was no, we put it in writing for open records.
Okay.
Duly noted.
So yes, so you can move it forward. You can go ahead and vote on it to move it forward. As far as the writing of it and everything will be based on that. So that will determine when it gets in front of me.
And I firmly believe we can get together and write up
Sounds
what
good.
they would need to forward.
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion then. I make a motion to accept the policy committee's recommendation of extending the window of filing from 90 days to 365 days, with amendments to our non-discrimination ordinance to the mayor commission.
Second that. Thank you. Any further discussion?
I have a question that I just thought about after all of this.
Sorry.
And that's about the event. So when we say that they're gonna present things about the filing process, are we also including, like the internal process? Like what would they, what will be done after they file that? Like, who they're gonna contact, like what will that process be? Is that gonna be covered?
It should be, yes, and I'll clarify that to make sure it gets over to the attorney's office.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Sorry, I didn't see your hand if you had it up. So we do have a motion and second on the floor, and that is to extend to 365 days as opposed to 90, making that recommendation to the mayor and commission, and this committee will get together and shore that up in official document for Dr. Epps of the mayor and commission. All in favor would say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Next item, I know we're over, but election of 2024 officers, I would entertain a motion to table that election to the January meeting. So moved. Any second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of tabling the election of officers to January, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Great. And then last thing on the agenda was the January retreat.
Yes, there needs to be as you know, every year, there needs to be some type of plan focusing on what direction you are wanting to go in for the year, just how you did this year with your focus areas for the entire year. I do believe this should be happening in January, although I do know January is jam-packed right now. So there needs to be some type of either meeting in January, to go forward with this. And it needs to be more than an hour, to sit down half a day or so. Yeah, so I think there needs to be some time there. Or if, it needs to happen between January and February. I will say that. That way you all have the focus of where you want to go. What you don't want to do is get into the weeds again. And then it turn up June and you all are pulling your hair out, upset because there's no direction there, but this will guide your work for the remainder of the year. So a date should be set in stone for you all, half a day or a full day, to discuss this, or 2 half days, to really iron out the focus of the year to come. So.
And do we have to decide that date right now, or should we do it doodle? I know in the past we've done like doodle polls and email.
I think if I do a doodle poll, it will need to be on set dates that you all are amenable to, which will work best for everyone. So you all can kind of decide if you want to do Wednesdays or Tuesday, Thursday, during the morning or afternoon, half a day or a whole day. That's really the essentials that I would need to know. That way I can get out some dates for you all and find room locations for you all to be there.
Would it be helpful to see, staff availability first? Because
Yeah.
it's gonna be a lot of your staff's time as well.
Yes, June, I'm telling you now, June, we gotta get on the books now for mine. But, it's really, I just need to know what, day of the week will work best if you all want to do that. January, I'm pretty much open on Mondays. Really, any day right now, I'm looking pretty good except for the middle of January. We can do a Tuesday, Thursday if you want. But Tuesday, Thursday, you run into your town hall, so I would cancel out the last week of January, the second to last week of January. Or you can do it the week of the 8th. That would be good as well. And again, this could also be open to the public as well to come in and look at those focus areas of what HRC will be focusing on. So I can propose the 9th and the 11th, as well as that's a Tuesday, Thursday. I can throw out January the 30th, which is Tuesday. Can everybody dedicate an entire day of something or 4 hours?
We don't have to come up with an agenda or anything. We just need to come up with a date at this point.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick thing. Who would rather do a whole day? Who would rather split it among 2 days?
How many hours is a whole day?
8.
Yeah.
It'd be 8. There would be food. We would be. We would food.
And weekends are not an option.
Weekends are not.
Is there anything to be said about the members that are coming up to term at the beginning of next year?
That would be something that, yes, you would all decide that. You would all need to have a decision of if you are wanting to stay on or if you are ready to roll off. And that should be discussed at the retreat as well.
Didn't you give us an option of half days, 4 and 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
I have a transportation business. I'm booked with paid customers, but I can split half.
Yeah.
I can do all of it.
Yes. So, we can do half and half. I can give out those dates. I can throw out a couple of dates to see. So I'm hearing half a day is probably gonna be best. Tuesday, Thursdays. Work. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of head nods. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, mornings or afternoons? Or, okay, I'll give options of those.
Yeah.
I'll randomize it for y'all.
Yeah.
I'll see, and then, I'll send out those dates, tomorrow, for everyone's feedback on what a 2-day retreat half day will look like. Majority, we will go with that, as the dates for the January retreat to set for.
Sure.
So, look forward to all the HRC work that's coming in January, so y'all will be seeing quite a lot of me in January.
And each other. Motion
Yes.
to adjourn from anyone.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Tamika. Second, right here, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody? No.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'm here.
Hold on.
Up.